Hello, Maverick fans. Welcome to another edition, a special edition of the Mavpuckcast. John and I have Harrison Israels here to talk to us a little bit about his experience at Omaha and what he's doing now. So I'm sure that our listeners are going to be very excited to hear this. John, how are you doing today?
I am great. It's great to have Harrison Israels here. You know, when we set up this interview, we had no idea that Harrison was going to be joining the Florida Everblades in the ECHL. So it's kind of cool. It's the whole package, Harrison. You came to Omaha through the transfer portal. Your career is now finished playing collegiate hockey, and you're a new pro player. So we get to ask you a lot of really cool, a lot of fun questions. So you got your first point as a pro last week. How was that getting your first assist for Florida?
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, it was kind of just a whirlwind of a couple days there because I found out where I was going on Thursday. It's either Wednesday or Thursday, and then I flew out. No, it was Wednesday. 'Cause then I flew out Thursday, and it was a full day travel day because you have to go back to Canada to get your visa like switched. So I had to fly back to Toronto, leave the airport, come back in, and then fly down to Florida. So it was a kind of a grind of a travel day. And then I got settled, and got into my first games there on Friday, Saturday, and yeah, it felt good to get the first one out of the way. I think in any new team or league you're playing in, I think you want to try and create some offense pretty early on. And it was good. It was just kind of getting used to the pace of the game. And there's some bigger guys out here. Just some of these guys are full men in their 30s, so I gotta get used to that. But no, it was great. I thought the team was really welcoming, so it was a good 2 games weekend.
It was an amazing play to see you come down the wall and do that little dangle around the defender. And I know when I was watching, the announcers were talking about that move that you made there. But for me, after watching you for a season and stuff, what impressed me more was just being able to find Pfizer coming off the wall there. What stuck out? What do you remember of it? Was it all just kind of a blur and you just, go through the motions and you weren't thinking?
I would say it's funny because I don't think I tried like a through the legs move. I might have tried it once this year in college, and like not very often during like my college career. So I don't know what kind of came over me, but just kind of threw it through there and it worked. Kind of worked. But yeah, no, I think after that I was just like, yeah, I'm just gonna go park myself behind the net. And usually when you make a play, especially in the offensive zone, if it's like an east-west play where you can take it from one side of the net to the other, it creates like an opening in the slot there. And Pfizer he was wide open coming downhill for a one-timer, and he didn't make a mistake putting that thing in the net.
You know, I was wondering what it was like because every year we have guys on the team who go play pro, whether it's in the ECHL or the AHL. And I wondered how much lead time you guys got. So that was really interesting that it was like, boom, hey, we need you. Come down and we're ready to go. So had you been in talks with them, in the days leading up to that, or was it just, we're ready for you? Here's the opportunity.
Yeah, it was kind of like just trying to figure out what was going to be the best opportunity for the rest of the season, just to go and like play some games and kind of get in your feet wet in pro. And they got a really good team down here. Like they've won the championship here the last 3 years in a row, and they're going for a fourth championship this year. So they got a veteran squad, like guys here have played pro for a long time, and so it's cool to kind of see like how they do their day to days and kind of learn from them. So I thought they from what it looked like they needed for the rest of the season, we just thought it was going to be a good fit for me. And it's been great. It's an interesting dynamic, like switching from kind of that college lifestyle to now pro hockey, where guys got families and kids and stuff, where you don't really see that too much when you're in college. But it'll take some getting used to, but it's been great so far.
Well, speaking of your journey in hockey, kind of outline sort of how you ended up at Omaha from the time you were in juniors to Alaska to get into the Mavs.
Yeah, it's been a kind of a crazy one. So I was playing, like I grew up there in Mississauga, like just outside of Toronto, and played minor hockey growing up in the GTHL, which is a pretty big, league in that area. And I graduated grade 12. I was playing AAA my last 2 years of high school there, grade 11 and 12. And I knew my goal was to always get a Division I scholarship, but I knew I had to get into junior hockey at some point. So after grade 12, I ended up the only team I made was a team up in the Northern Ontario Junior League called the Powassan Voodoos. And kind of a crazy year. Like I was up there for a year. It was an incredible experience, super fun. Like made a lot of good connections there. But the way that year worked is it allowed me to get traded down to the OJHL, which is where there's a lot more eyes on you there, like especially from college scouts and stuff. And I jumped onto a team, the Oakville Blades, who we ended up winning the whole thing, going to nationals, which was an unbelievable experience in its own, getting to win a championship. Sorry, there's a truck coming beside me. It's kind of loud, but yeah, it was an awesome experience, and that's where I got my Division 1 commit. Was in the playoffs of that year. Alaska came down to watch one of my good buddies, Garrett Pike, who he was at North Dakota last year. He actually ended up committing to Fairbanks before me, but them coming down to watch him, they ended up seeing me there too, and just worked out well that I got that college commitment and stayed one more year in Oakville. The following year, I played my age out year of junior. And then I went up to Fairbanks for 4 years. The first season was canceled because of COVID, which sucks. So I didn't play a hockey game there for like it was like 16 months or something like that, 17 months. But then I had 3 years after that of really good seasons. I had an amazing time up there. Made some of my best friends, and just an awesome experience. And then after last season, I was trying to figure out, okay, do I go play pro now, or do I wait a year and try and see like if I can kind of prove myself in a bigger conference? And decided that coming to the NCHC was kind of what I should do, and see what interest would come up when I went in the portal. So I entered my name and chatted with a few schools, and Omaha was definitely on top of my list just because I played there a couple times before, and was super impressed with the facilities. And I thought from how you guys did last year with, the run that you really went on, I thought, this year we could do something just like that. And then, I find out Risky's going there too, who was obviously my roommate and my line mate there for the last 3 years. So that helped me push me over the edge. And talking with Gabs and, all the rest of the coaching staff there, I think it was a pretty easy decision for me to make the call to transfer there for my last year. And I got no regrets. Had an awesome time.
So it sounds like what attracted you to Omaha was kind of the facilities and stuff. You kind of already decided on the NCHC being the conference you wanted to move to.
Yeah, I think from playing in Alaska, and the good thing about that is we got to play as an independent. We got to play so many different teams from different conferences, and every time I played an NCHC team, I was like, okay, this is big. It's physical. It's fast. Like I really felt that when we played those teams. So I thought that was going to prepare me the best for pro hockey. It was jumping into a conference like that. And then, playing in Omaha, I was like, honestly, if you go, through all the rinks in college, you're probably putting Omaha with, definitely in the top 5, I think, in the country. So yeah, it was super impressive. And then once you actually get to see what's underneath the rink, like what we got there in the locker room and everything else, it's amazing. So it's a pretty easy call for me to transfer there.
I was going to say, did you miss Alaska at all last year? I mean, they had some crazy road trips being geographically where Alaska's located. If I recall correctly, didn't you guys have like a 20-some nights road trip when you were with Fairbanks?
Yeah, we would have had the longest one I would have been on. So we had 2 3-weekers, which was probably upwards of, I don't think it was a full 3, like it probably wasn't 21 days, it was probably like 18, 19 days on the road. And we did that twice one year. And then you also add on a couple 2-week trips during that season as well. So it's a long time on the road.
You're basically an online student at that point in time, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Online student, and you're living in a hotel.
Hopefully they're nice hotels.
Yeah, that's crazy. So Harrison, obviously now you're playing pro hockey, so things have changed, but what's your typical game day routine? And I guess we could ask, what's your game day routine down there in Florida?
It's changed a bit here just because it's a little bit of a different setup just in terms of I've only played 2 games, but just kind of getting used to how they do things. Like in Omaha, it was pretty much wake up, go to the rink, sometimes optional skate. Sometimes I would just do like an activation off the ice, and then do like a cool down stretch with jump in like the Normatec pants, which are a recovery tool that we got, and then I would hit post game meal or not post game pre-game meal at the rink, walk back home because obviously it was super nice. We were living in those apartments across from the rink there, so you could just buzz on over, and then yeah, I would take like a pretty quick nap. Like I know some guys nap for like 2 hours or whatnot. I'm pretty quick, like a good 25-30 minute nap, and then tend to watch, like sometimes I'll watch some clips from the game before or whatnot and kind of just get my mind focused on the game that night. And yeah, call my parents. Usually I talk to my dad before the game and then try and get to the rink. Like if our game's at 7, I'll get there at like 4:30. So I'll get my suit on, walk over and toss the headphones in and dial in, get the warm up going, and yeah, take my sticks, all that stuff. And it's nothing too crazy, but it's pretty much the same thing every time I have a home game, and then the road games kind of just have to make do with what you got in terms of like what the bus schedule is and stuff. But yeah, it's not too complicated.
So you talked about going down to Florida. Did you have a decision to make there, or was it something where they were the first ones to reach out to you and it just seemed like a good fit, and so you decided to head there?
Yeah, there was like so my goal for I would say like next season is obviously to like you always have the aspiration to jump into the American League and trying to keep moving up with myself. So I think just for the rest of this season it was like I was talking to a few teams in terms of like different East Coast teams, and I just thought, okay, Florida's got a team that can make a run for it. They need some just needed some help in down the middle. So it wasn't like between me and my agent, we kind of just narrowed it down pretty quick. It wasn't like the college transfer portal by any means when I had to make a big spreadsheet and a list. It was pretty much like let's just see where we could go pretty quickly here and get some games in for the rest of the year. And Florida was kind of just the one that, they reached out a bunch when I was talking to their coaches here. And so it wasn't like a too crazy of a decision by any means. It just felt like it was a pretty good fit right away.
Yeah, that's kind of what I get, the impression I get from a lot of former Mav players and former college hockey players and guys. And, it's the end of the season. And so, your options are pretty much, go finish out the season someplace, keep playing, and then the big decision will be this summer for you. And I'm sure that there'll be a ton of opportunities and teams out there saying we need this guy on our squad.
Yeah, no, I hope so. I mean, I think at the end of the day, like even I'm at that point where like I gotta just perform kind of wherever I go. Like, I'm here down here for the rest of the year. Like I gotta show kind of, what I can do. And yeah, just have to be consistent and show, hopefully somebody likes me and wants me, kind of playing with somewhere in their system next year.
So to that, then let's talk a little bit about kind of your game. What do you feel is the strength to your game? What kind of player do you see yourself?
Yeah, it's definitely changed. I feel a bit over the years, but I think now and especially the last couple of years, I've really honed in on kind of being like a player that can play with a lot of pace and be heavy on pucks, be good down low, use my speed to my advantage, and just kind of be, just have a good motor all around the ice. Try and play like a really solid two-way. I know it's very cliche for a player to just say they're a two-way forward, but I think, at the next level, I'm not going to be like a blue chip, goal scorer like a lot of the guys are. Like, I'm going to have to work my way up to gaining that trust. And I think that's going to be from being really good defensively and being good on face-offs and being good on the penalty kill, all that kind of stuff. So I think just being a reliable centerman that can play with a lot of pace is what I kind of like to describe myself as. And then also having that, I found the last few years in college, I've had a pretty good knack around the net, just whether it's on the power play or 5-on-5, just kind of trying to get myself there to kind of put myself in a good opportunity to score. I've had some success there for sure. So yeah, just kind of trying to find out a few things I feel like I can really separate myself from other people. And I think those are kind of them right now.
Harrison, do you have any game day superstitions?
Oh, not over the. I feel like I get dressed the exact same way. Like my equipment, like right skate before my left, right shin pad before my left, like that all stays the same. I do tape, so I tape all my sticks in the morning except my game stick. I leave my game stick for the game. I don't touch that until I get to the rink for pregame stuff. Oh, on the ice warm up, I always got to leave warm up by just throwing a puck in the net before, like just make sure I end on ice warm up with just tossing one in there. Just make sure.
Yeah.
I don't know why I started doing that. I just was like, you know, gets me in like a mental state of just okay, like make sure you leave the ice and putting a puck in the net. So it kind of mentally gets you ready to try and throw one in the net during the game. Doesn't always happen, but but the one thing I started doing last year, oh, sorry, please, um, I started doing like a visualization technique thing. So I learned this in Alaska actually. It's like you get this breathing belt that I have, and it basically just tracks your breath. And so I do like a 10-minute meditation before every game, toss some like really calm music on, and I basically just kind of visualize, try and go through the entire game in my head, and just like little plays that I know are probably going to happen, just because they happen so frequently in my game and stuff. And yeah, I found once I started doing that, especially last season, I was able to kind of find myself in areas of the ice where I was just more opportunistic. Like I think it helped with if you look at my college career, like my point totals and goal totals went up pretty significantly in between my second and third year, and I do credit a lot of that to just having like a visualization routine, because I just found myself bouncing on more rebounds and making better plays out of a corner and different stuff. So yeah, just kind of finding new ways. Like my routine changes and superstitions can change, but some of that stuff that I find has helped me is stuck pretty consistent in my pregame.
Yeah, I hear that a lot from teams about their commitment to the mental aspect of the game, and so it seems like something that's really changed for players over the last few years has been that commitment to being mentally prepared and what that means and how that looks. So, you
Yeah,
and
for
Risk,
sure.
and you talked a little bit about this, had a lot of chemistry in Alaska, and then obviously coming over to Omaha as a pair, that was exciting for us as Maverick fans to be able to kind of see that firsthand. How did that chemistry develop? Was it just happenstance, or did you kind of like just come together that first year?
Honestly, so I didn't play with him my first season. He was with two other guys pretty much the entire year, and then the next year, just how it worked out with guys coming back. I think our coach just kind of paired us together pretty early on, and yeah, I think just the way he sees the ice so well, like he can make like little 2 foot passes to you, and it for someone to I think really benefit off that is someone who can play with a lot of speed and pace, because he can just kind of put pucks in area, and if you can skate well, you can get to those pucks. And so I think like that second year that I was playing games up in Alaska, I started to kind of really realize that, and then on top of that, he's been really good on the power play. So I thought we were just connecting a lot on plays, whether he was on the flank or the bumper, just being like that net front guy. Like you probably saw it a few times this year, he would just rip a puck off my foot or something in front of the net. So it definitely developed. Like it took time. It wasn't like right off the hop we were playing spectacular together. I think it was just two guys that we would always stay after practice and work on little things, and I think that really helped us kind of be able to read off each other and just kind of know where each other are on the ice, and that's developed a lot over the last 2 years.
You've been a leader, you've worn letters, basically with every team you've played with. Do you relish that role of wearing the C, wearing the A on your jersey?
It's every time that happens, it's a huge honor for sure. Like if it's a vote from your teammates, I think it's something that you can kind of take like it means a lot, because those are the guys that you go to battle with every day. And but at the same time, I think I enjoy the roles of it, because I like to be vocal in the dressing room, and I like to try and like lead by an example as much as I can, and I find when you're wearing those letters, you kind of have that pressure to do so. So it kind of keeps me accountable to myself. Like, hey, like you need to make sure you're always kind of on your A game here, because the younger guys are going to be looking to you or whatnot. So yeah, I do like I could say I enjoy having them, but if it happens again, I'm not like going out and like trying to hunt that like opportunity again. If it happens, it happens. But yeah, when you're wearing a letter, I think in any league or team, you should take it as a huge honor, and really kind of just what's the word? I'd say like relish in the experience of having one on your shoulder.
John talked about, Alaska and the travel requirements that come with its location. And so you've probably experienced more arenas than most collegiate players have. Is there any that stand out, obviously, other than Omaha, because that's the reason why I came here? Is there any that stood out to you that you're just like, that was one of my favorite places to play, or so unique? Or places that you just kind of really look back fondly and say, I love that arena. Or
Yeah,
on the flip side of that, were there ones that you really hated playing in?
yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a couple. So the two that come right off the top of my head that I really enjoyed playing was obviously North Dakota, like the Ralph. That spot was. Remember the first time I saw that, I was just pretty much in awe of how big the jumbotron was on the in that rink. But and it's just a very impressive arena. Like it's looks great on the outside and the inside. Like I can't. That's probably as far as college hockey goes, and probably hockey in general, it's one of the best ones you can play in. But the other one that recently, obviously popped up in the last few years was the Mullet Arena there in Arizona. I know you guys got down there for the games and saw how it's super nice, like the way it's laid out. It's awesome. And you can you stay in the hotel that's like 5 minutes away, so you can just walk to the rink. And so I would say those two arenas were pretty fun to play in. I'm trying to think. Played in like Notre Dame was awesome. Penn State. Oh, played in Minnesota my first year. That was a really cool experience. Just playing that, Mariucci there. That was a nice one. But as far as arenas that I don't like, I can say this. Pretty much everyone in Fairbanks probably says the same thing. That Alaska Anchorage, the other Alaska team, it's a small little rink. They pack it pretty good because it doesn't seat a lot of people. But just like the setup there is it. Yeah, let's just say it's kind of a tough place to play. And then there's a couple of like LIU, and like we played in Stonehill last year. Like a couple of spots, just I think they're probably on the works to maybe trying to get a new arena just to kind of upgrade the program a bit. But some of those spots wouldn't be, especially when you're with Alaska and you have to stay there for the entire week. They're not the easiest places to be in the whole week. So yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Obviously, you're at an age in your life, you're at a point in your career where hockey is kind of the focal point of everything. But outside of hockey, what do you like to do in your spare time?
Oh man, it's funny. I'm kind of trying to figure that out right now because I'm getting a lot more free time without classes and stuff. But honestly, when I'm back home and stuff, like I love hanging out with my buddies and just kind of taking it easy. Like in the summer, I'll go golfing, or love to go to the movies. And my sister actually, she works in film, so she's always, when I'm home, she's like forcing me to go out with her to go watch the latest movie that comes out. So I'll hit the theater like a ton. But yeah, other than that, just I'm at a coffee shop right now. I've loved hitting up coffee shops and hanging with my girlfriend, kind of that stuff. Probably throw that in there so she doesn't get mad at me. But yeah, no, it's kind of pretty chill. Like I think as the course of my career goes, obviously what you said about it's kind of the focal point of my life. But I think hanging out with family and friends and the people who really are close to me and kind of motivate me to keep going, and that's just as big.
I noticed your sister Abby is a content creator who's worked for a number of media outlets, including Netflix. So you say she drags you to movies. Do you have a favorite movie?
Oh man, that's a tough question. I got too many, but okay, off the top of my head, I can say the Dark Knight series, like the trilogy. Those three are unbelievable. If we're going comedies, Happy Gilmore, it's my favorite movie. Like, but obviously the number 2 is coming out this summer, which I'm super excited for. Like a lot of the Christopher Nolan movies, like Interstellar, Oppenheimer, like those are all great. I got so many that I could name. She's got like a list every year. She pumps out lists of like what her favorites are. So it's it's pretty impressive. But yeah, there's too many to count, I would say.
Yeah, that's awesome. We love Christopher Nolan movies. I know Jason's a huge fan of Oppenheimer. Christopher Nolan does not make a bad movie. So I hear you on that. I also was reading an article. You mentioned Garrett Pike earlier. You were teammates, of course, at Alaska-Fairbanks. The article, and I will tell you, I'll apologize up front. I didn't get to read it because it cost $2, but
Yeah, yeah.
in order to be able to read, but it said that you and he had kind of traveled the world together, and I was curious about that. Apparently, you were a big fan of travel.
Yeah, so I do love to travel. The last couple of years, it's been just tougher with with the college schedule having to go in the summer and stuff. But so Piker and I, we played minor hockey together too. Like we played AAA together for when I was in like grade 11, and then we ended up playing junior together and in Alaska. So we've kind of been at three levels together. But he and I, and then our other buddy Jack Ricketts, who was just graduated from Quinnipiac. The three of us went to Australia after our year that we went to nationals with our junior team. We went for like a month. We just backpacked up the coast, stayed at hostels, tried to make it as cheap as possible. It was incredible. Like it was kind of something where we landed in Sydney and just had like no plan. We just took a Greyhound pass and went and hit up all these towns, like small towns up the coast of Australia. And it was something that really gave me the itch to travel. But again, unfortunately, COVID hit right after that. And then you're kind of in the mode of college hockey. So I think in the future, coming up in the next few off seasons, I'll definitely try to get back into that and try and get out and see some of the world for sure.
It's amazing how the game of hockey will bring guys together, and you'll have lifelong friends and stuff. From the teams that you played in, and it's always kind of crazy to hear, so and so and so and so played 10 years later on, like, 10 years ago they played on this junior team or something, and they're still good
Yeah.
friends. So I love hearing that.
Yeah, no, you're right. Hockey is it's a small world, like it, especially North America, where you got guys from, it seems to be pretty like focal points. Like you got like the Ontario, the Alberta, BC, Minnesota, Michigan. Like you end up just really being connected, and so it's pretty cool.
Anyone on the Mavericks that you see might be the guys you hang out with a ton over the years and stay in contact with?
Oh yeah, like a bunch. There's a ton. Like obviously risky, but you got like Stanger, Galley, like the G roles, or like Bremer, like a ton of guys. Like Jimmy Flynn, like a lot of the older guys. Obviously, we hung out a lot. Sometimes it just kind of happens with you hang out with kind of your senior class or whatever, rather than, and the freshmen will just tend to hang out with each other more. But no, there's so many good dudes on that team, and all really good hockey players, super talented. So, whether they're coming back to Omaha or they're moving on, I think a lot of those guys got, bright futures ahead of them. And I'm hoping to be able to continue to, maybe get an invite to their weddings or something like that down the road.
Yeah, we'll see those pictures online and on Facebook, so that'll be fun to see
For sure.
how that's goes down. So Harrison, obviously you're focused on hockey, you're focused on continuing player, but where do you want to be 5 years from now?
Oh, 5 years. Well, still playing hockey for sure. Like I think my goal is, and it's been like this for a long time, is just trying to move up every level of the hockey and get to the highest possible level I can get to. And I think just trying to get better every year. Hopefully in 5 years, I could be, whether it's in the American League or best case scenario in the NHL, but or over in Europe, like wherever that is. I think it's just my goal is to continue to improve as a player and keep moving up. And I can't tell you where I'm going to be or what a plan is, because every time I try to make a plan, it ends up going in 35 different directions. Like I didn't know I was going to. My goal was to play Division One. I didn't know it was going to take me from Oakville to Alaska down to Omaha. Like I had no plan for that, but it happened, and I'm happy for it that it happened. And so it's tough to give you a straight answer on that one, but just know my plan is hopefully to still be playing hockey by then at the highest level I can be at.
And looking back at your collegiate career, do you have one memory that stands out over your years playing at Alaska and at Omaha?
Oh man. Well, I could separate the two. In Alaska, my second year there, we had a run where we ended up finishing I think we were 12th in the country, and we thought thought we were making the tournament, but unfortunately, with everything that happened, not having conference playoffs, we got bounced out. But I think just that entire run that we went on, I think we ended up winning like 17 out of 20 games or something like that, just to put ourselves in that situation. I think just that experience of, of like being so tight with the guys up there and just like everybody just pulling for each other to do well and just win games. I think that's something I'm never going to forget. And then in Omaha, oh man, there's obviously with everything that happened in the playoffs, so it was, disappointing, but I think just throughout the year, seeing the growth of where our team was at the start of the season, like I know you heard Gabs talk about it, but we were pretty down in the dumps there for the first 8 games other than, that Vegas tournament, but just seeing how we responded in that second half and being able to really pull a really impressive second half together, I think is something I'll remember, just seeing like the resilience and the push from a group that, was kind of, it was down pretty bad there for a bit. So I think that's what the biggest thing I'll take away from Omaha.
Is there something that the fans wouldn't know about you that maybe you want them to know? In Omaha, I think there's a lot of fan engagement that you don't see at some other schools. And so there may not be anything, but I'm just curious if there's something you're just like, hey, I like to do this, or I know this, or they probably don't know this about me.
Oh man. Gonna make myself sound pretty boring here that I'm not trying to find something out.
Not boring. It just means you're
mean,
an open book and we're
yeah, no, I can say that for like the first, I don't know, probably like 13 years of my life, my goal is to, like, hockey was obviously a big part, but my goal, like, I wanted to be a history professor because my grandpa was a history buff. So I'm like, me and my brother, my dad were super into kind of just talking about history stuff and, doing research on like just stuff in the past, whether it's like, World War II stuff, World War One. So it's kind of a nerdy, reading some books and things like that. But it's kind of goes on with the travel stuff. Like when I travel these places, I want to, explore historic sites. Like I was fortunate enough to go to France for the 100th anniversary of the Vimy Ridge fight for World War One, and that was like an unbelievable experience. So yeah, I think that the fact that I'm a history buff, I can throw that in there.
10 years from now, I get a picture of Harrison just sitting there painting little Civil War figurines or something.
Yeah, that'd be funny. I'm sure I would hear some chirps pretty good if I was starting to paint things. But yeah.
Now, Harrison, you were working, if I recall correctly, on your MBA. Will you continue to work on that, or is that like on pause for the moment as you're playing professional hockey?
Yeah, no, I'm almost done it. I got like I think 2 or 3 more classes. I'm just going to finish up in the next either the summer or the fall, and then I'll be fully ready to go with that. So I was fortunate enough that Alaska allowed me to start that while I was still like there. So I'm excited to get that done.
Jason, do you have any more questions for Harrison?
I don't have any more questions. I will say though, as a fan, and I'm sure that a lot of other fans would probably agree with me on this, is just we had a lot of fun watching you. I think that the shame part for us, the part that's just kind of a bummer, is we only got to see you for 1 year. But it was a really fun year, and I really appreciate you making the decision to come to Omaha, giving us that opportunity. And I just want to let you know how much fun we had watching you fly around there on the ice.
I appreciate that, and I could tell as soon as I arrived the passion that you guys have for the team and how much you care about the team, and it really means a lot for the players. I know they all love it, and just showing that the community is really there to back the fellas, I think is something that goes a long way with a college team and with any team really. But so yeah, I can't thank you guys enough for your support during the year and this season, and hopefully down the road, like I'll be back, in Omaha or whatnot, and hopefully we can run into each other again.
Yeah, it was great following you this season. Great getting to know you this season. And we wish you all the best down there in Florida and wherever your professional journey might take you. So hopefully we'll be able to get in touch with you and catch up soon.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Harrison.